Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, everyone? Tuesday nights, and we're hanging out. This was not a planned stream, but sometimes it be like that. Hope everyone's doing good. For you guys in the live chat, just to give you guys a blanket hello. Let's see who we have here. Melissa saying old school horror is way better. All right, we're starting off quick. What's up? What's up? Um, what's up, Blucka? And we got Christopher. What's going on? Get it up. That's right. That's right. Let's see. Let's see. Jason, what's going on? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. The general is in the chat. Thank you so much, Val. Reminding folks, definitely hit the like button, and that will definitely help us out, get us going in the right place. You guys know you got to follow the rules. What the general says goes, because this could happen to you.
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein, and I want to know what the fuck you're doing with my time.
And there it is. There it is. Thanks, Val. What's up? Polar's in the chat. What's going on? So many of you guys are just awesome, and a lot of our Patreon members as well. What's going on, Sarah? Sarah's in the chat too. Good to see you. Good to see you. And Philip, good to see you too. You guys are too funny. You're gonna get acupuncture today. Really? What? Oh man, Bluck, I tell you, too much. Val, thanks for putting up the link for our Patreon. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Jinja Ninja, what is up, bro? How's it going? Old school is the best for gore tension, and new school for frights and better acting. Oh, I like the way you put that, man. It's very, very interesting. Very, very cool. Hey, Mayanne, what's going on? Good to see you too. All right, guys. So what I wanted to talk about tonight. Val. Yeah, I missed that clip too. It's a good one. What I wanted to talk about today is something that's been really interesting that I've noticed in a lot of live streams and conversations when we talk about old school horror versus the new, and which is better, which one do people enjoy the most or maybe enjoy more, and also the state of horror. Where are we going? We had an interesting live stream on the collective. We were talking about Scream, and obviously with Scream 6 out, and a lot of people seem to enjoy it. The question we were talking about is, well, what are we expecting to see in 7? And we went down the rabbit hole, as we always do, that this may happen, that may happen. And it was really funny because it got to the point where all of us, Jake, Fate, and Steven and myself, we were all kind of saying, we want to keep doing new stuff, some fresh stuff. We don't want to be tied down too much to what has happened in the franchise before that. And it just really made me start thinking about just the state of these legacy franchises that are still prominent, and what does that mean, and what does that mean for the future? And also, when you think about icons, horror icons, who do we have? Recently, and what do we think of those horror icons, if they are horror icons? And for you guys in the chat, let me know, do you think that Art the Clown is a horror icon or becoming a horror icon? We have other characters as well, but the legacy icons are still prominent. And I've seen that, and that's what I wanted to talk about. I've seen that in live streams and conversations with people where, if we're talking about Scream, or if we're talking about Halloween, or if we're talking about Friday the 13th, we've got, or Nightmare on Elm Street, we have a lot of folks, legacy fans, legacy viewers, and so forth, that are really attached to these characters, to these properties, to these franchises. And my question is, you know, do we move when do we move on from them, if at all? Do we move on? And I think that that's a really interesting conversation to have because myself, and I've been a horror fan since I was a little kid, and growing up in the 80s, and I've watched all of these franchises, become what they are, become famous. And, I've seen a lot of them from the beginning. So, it's just interesting because if we take characters like Jason, or we take characters like Leatherface, or a character like Chucky, or whatever, from back in the day, these characters were born, from obviously different backgrounds as far as the creative talents behind the camera, whether it's directors, screenwriters, and so forth. But there's a lot of creativity to them, and some of them, for myself, are more favorites than others. But one thing is for sure is that they've endured. They've endured over time. They've stood the test of time. So for you guys, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. What do you think about the state of horror? What do you think about the legacy franchises? And I know some of you in this chat right now, and I'll get to you guys in a second, but I know some of you have been on both sides of the fence as far as saying, we should move on from, some of these legacy franchises, or give them a break for a while, several years, a decade or so, and then maybe revisit them down the road. Or obviously things like reboots can happen. But then the question is, well, what do we have now? And I think I'm talking a little bit more about iconic characters. you know um we've always had horror that is, whether it's supernatural, those types of things, mysteries, stuff like that, paranormal, all that type of stuff. But let me know what you guys think. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Wow, you guys are you guys are working. Oh my gosh. Hey Jennifer. Jennifer's in the chat too. All right. All right. Scott's in the chat. What's going on? Nev will return to play Sydney if Matthew Lillard will return to play Stu. Really? And I see, and that's a good question. We talked about that on the collective. Number one, should she return? Number two, if she does, would Scream 7 be fresh? Would they be able to have something that's new or maybe creative that they add to the franchise? I think they can do that. It's really all about the writing. But the question is, would 7 be the end game? Would this be the Radio Silence trilogy and then it's done? And then, if they decide to do more Scream movies, they move on to new characters and new mythologies and so forth. Or do they just give Scream a break for a certain amount of years? The same thing happened with Halloween. Halloween took breaks, here and there. The Rob Zombie Halloween 2 came out in '09, I believe it was, and it was almost a decade before we had 2018. So that's the type of question. Hey Derek, what's going on? What's going on? Good to see you. Jim, what's up? Now it's dark in the chat. Chris was saying I don't think it was Stu that attacked Gail. I don't know. I don't know. Again, if they bring back Stu, we said this on our live stream. If they bring back Stu, I think that might be one way that Radio Silence will have a storyline that ties to the past and kind of puts everything together. You would think it would be the type of story that would tie up the trilogy and tie up all 7 movies all together if they do that. But I'll be quite honest, guys. I don't know if it's going to be that complicated because, in my opinion, and let me know what you guys think. I think that 5 was was fairly simple. We theory crafted tons of ideas about how, oh well, Stu's house is in the movie. Stu is connected to Amber. Well, at the time, we were theorizing that, Stu is connected, this and that, and blah blah blah. And come to find out, yeah, she lived in the house. And her and Richie were not really connected to the past. They were fans, of the Stab movies and wanted to put their spin on it and so forth. But there wasn't all this complicated things going on. And 6 was basically a follow-up to that, Richie's family taking revenge for him. So, to me, if we go by history, it would make sense to me that Radio Silence in 7, if they are the ones that are going to be doing 7, which we're assuming, but we don't know. I think it might be a simple story. You know, I'm sure they'll have tie-ins to the past, or winks and nods, I should say. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna, because and my good friend Fate, he was talking about, well, they're gonna bring back Christina Carpenter because she was around back in '96, so she's the connection to the past, and this and that, and blah blah blah. And it's like I don't know if they're gonna do something that complicated. I really don't. But Blanca saying, Art the Clown has to be deemed a horror icon. He has been around since 2007. Yeah, I mean, I personally think he's a horror icon. I agree. I don't know what other people think, but I think he is. I really, really do. And, obviously with Terrifier 3 on the horizon, and Damien is like super pumped to do Terrifier 3. I think that solidifies it even more. He has a franchise now. He's been in multiple movies, and to me, that makes him a horror icon. He's obviously not at the same level of the big four. He's not at the same level of Ghostface or Michael, Jason, or Freddy, but he's rising up there. He's rising up there. Um, Val saying, I forget that he's been around that long. He really has. Yeah. Christopher saying, I think horror has become a little predictable in what's going to happen in a movie, but they will always be fun to watch. And I think that it depends on the movie. Now, to me, the state of horror, I think one thing about horror today that is really, really strong, and our good friend Ginger Ninja mentioned it earlier, is we do have the opportunity to have some really good actors involved, sometimes A or B list actors that are involved, and we have some horror that is it's very sophisticated, versus back, let's say, in the 80s and what have you. Of course, the 80s was a big time for slashers, and that subgenre, it's just different. But if you look at movies like The Conjuring, if you look at movies like Hereditary or Smile or Barbarian, even newer movies like that, or X or Pearl, you have a lot of sophistication in the stories. And I think that for some of these movies, it really seems like they're becoming, in a way, they're becoming a little bit more creative. You look at Nope, things like that, and especially last year. Last year was such a great year for horror, and this year we have some things coming up like Evil Dead Rise. It's going to be really interesting to see how that movie um, pushes the envelope for that franchise, which has been around since the 80s. Evil Dead is another franchise that's a 40-year-old franchise. And the question is, and I think Blecka, I think you had mentioned it, are they going to push the envelope? Are they going to talk more about the lore, the mythology of this world, going beyond someone opening the Necronomicon and then the Deadites, possess and attack and so forth? I think they can do some really cool things. I talked about it a little bit earlier in the video I dropped earlier about the Evil Dead and the tone that it may have, Evil Dead Rise, that is. So, um, Man saying, I love the legacy characters of horror, but I also get excited for the new stuff. That's great to hear, because I think for me, um, I'm always interested in new stuff. Now, I've literally, and it's not calling out anyone, but I'm just being honest. And you guys know how it is. You guys talk in the live chat, so obviously, um, you're live. But I've had some people say, "Oh, okay, well, I haven't heard of this movie," or they may not be really interested in stuff if it's not, Halloween related or Scream related or Friday 13th related, whatever. And everyone has their own choices, but to me, I think that's too bad, because there's a lot of great movies out there, and there's a lot of great um, films that have the potential to be really cool franchises. So that's good to hear that you're excited for new stuff too, because I am too. Christopher saying, why not bring back Sid? A lot of people consider 6 a good wrap up for the core four. Let's go back to California with Sid for a stew return. I really think they could do a stew return. I think they're going to try to bring Sid back. I don't see why they wouldn't. Now that's we're going to take out the behind the scenes stuff and the money stuff. Let's assume all of that is going to work, right? I don't see why they would not want to bring Nev Campbell back and try to wrap this thing up, so to speak. Um, but then the question is, and that's kind of what my whole idea for this conversation, this live stream was, okay, so let's say we have seven, and let's say we wrap up the story, or at least it has an ending that is, it's a good ending, kind of like how three could have been the end of the franchise. It ended up Sydney's story perfectly, or it could have at least been the ending of the OG3, and then Scream 4 could have been about a whole new cast of characters, but they didn't do that. And again, legacy characters, and I've said this about Halloween, um, legacy characters they're an advantage and also a disadvantage, because those legacy characters, they are um, you're fans of them, you root for them, you're connected to them, but also sometimes that will stifle the creativity of the franchise. you know how many times is this particular character going to be in this situation? What's the believability of that? So Derek saying art is really the only newer icon. You can't go away from the 70s, 80s, and 90s icons. Fans will always return for those characters, and they get introduced to new fans. They live forever. Yeah, I think, and I think that, especially when you talk about, to me, the Trinity is Freddie, Michael, and Jason, right? Um, I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon either. I mean, they're basically the Universal monsters, right? The Universal monsters have been around for ever, 80 years, whatever it's been. And these characters will be around for a long time too. But the question is, when will we go into another phase? Because, like I said, you had the Universal monsters, you had the sci-fi movies, the cheesy sci-fi movies of like the 50s and so forth. And things got gritty in the 70s, with TCM and The Exorcist and stuff like that. And then we had, the slasher icons. And my question is, when do we go into a newer phase? We've got Art the Clown, you know, and not a lot else. Um, Megan's trying to have a franchise. You've got Pearl, and you've got a couple others here and there, but you've also got some icons that never really made it to that upper level, whether it's Victor Crowley or things like that, the Collector. So it's just really interesting. It's really, really interesting. Val saying she loves the legacy horror icons, but always keeps an open mind on the new stuff coming out. I would like to see some new horror slashers take the reins from the old. Yeah, me too. Me too. I really would like to see that. And what I'd like to see is, this is the reason why, and Val, I know you'll appreciate this. If you think about the creativity for some of these movies from back in the day, if you think about the mythology of Michael, and I know you're a big fan of Michael, Val, that mythology is so cool. It's such a cool mythology, and it was different at the time. You had great characters involved with it, namely Dr. Loomis, and just all these things were working in unison to create this. A fantastic director and Carpenter, Deborah Hill, adding a lot of heart to the story and to the characters of Laurie Strode and the other characters. So it's like, when do we get another one of those? Not a copycat, of course, but something different that will have a lasting impact. That's what I'm curious about, and that's what I'm hoping for. Skull Crusher saying, I'd like to see a new Freddy or Jason movie because we haven't seen a new movie from them in many years. That's absolutely true. And we're definitely, there's no doubt, we're definitely waiting on pins and needles for a new Friday the 13th movie. As far as Freddy, I don't know. I think, because it's just a lot of stuff going on in the background. We just last week finished up talking about the movies in the franchise with the remake, and there was just so many missteps with the remake. Um, but yeah, I'd love to see a new movie. I'd love to see it kind of get back to its roots. Freddy Krueger as an icon, as a character, so creative, so many possibilities. And Wes was so smart with how he crafted that character in the original. You know, what's up, Katie? Katie's in the chat. Good to see you, Katie. Bluck is saying, I think horror is somewhat handicapped by current times. Cancel culture kind of forces you to direct everything at one specific group without hurting feelings of the others. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, well, I think it depends on the. Well, I suppose it depends on the movie. Um, but I don't know. I mean, when I think of things like Terrifier 2 or um, Smile or Nope or what have you. I think it really depends. But I don't know, Bluck. I mean, you can explain that a little bit more if you'd like. I do get what you mean, but yeah, you never know. You never know. Grow some thick skin. Yeah. Yes. 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 And we have a knock at the door, guys, and that means we got to bring in our guest. And guess who it is? Our good friend Steven from Craven Something Scary. What's up, man?
Hey, what's happening, man?
How's it going?
Going good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. Good to see you. I didn't even know because I was teaching. I didn't even know you were streaming earlier until
Oh,
until Val told me. Because I was like, how did you know I was streaming? Because I didn't put it up until
yeah,
not too long before I got going. And so, anyways,
that's
but hey,
funny. Yeah,
man,
I figured when you didn't respond to my text, I forgot about your teaching.
yeah,
I totally forgot it was like Tuesday evening. I'm like, oh no, I figured something like that.
yeah, man,
No, it's
yeah,
all good, brother. Yeah, I streamed for like just under an hour,
yeah.
and it was nice. It was really really great. Even when it's short, it's still nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been blabbing on quite a bit. I thought to myself, um, we had this conversation on the collective about our ideas for Scream 7
Mm,
and what direction that they may take. And I think it was right after you had left, but it just really got to a point, and I think Jake and Fate, we were kind of all on the same page as far as we want to have the story still wow us, like certain
mm-hmm.
aspects of 6 did. But then the question is, we want it to still be a Scream movie. So it's kind of like it's a conundrum, you know what I mean? So I figured that
Right.
tonight's stream would kind of be talking about old school horror versus new horror. You know, what is the state of horror movies? And we've got these icons from the past, such as Ghostface. Um, and what do we have nowadays? We were, some folks in the live chat, and we've been talking about, well, you've got Art the Clown, you've got Megan, trying to become a franchise, you've got Pearl, um,
Yep.
but you don't have a lot else. You've got some that never really made it to the promised land,
Yeah.
like Victor Crowley from Hatchet and
Yep.
and some of these other ones. But
Mhm.
what do you think about that, man? Because obviously, especially when we talk about Scream, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you just have such an extensive connection to the franchise that
Mhm.
gives you such an extensive knowledge.
Mhm.
What do you think about the possibility of the future for Scream, specifically 7,
Okay.
and then beyond, and how that figures into this whole idea of the state of horror and where we're going with things.
Yeah. So, sorry. So, like, what do I expect for 7? You think? You mean like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, It's a good question, and
I know.
it's a real good question because we've always been calling this a trilogy, right? Ever since 5, we were like,
Yeah.
there'll be a Radio Silence trilogy, and just want to say hi to everyone in the chat because I see a lot of people are saying hello. So Hey,
Yes.
everybody, good to see you all. Um, so, how does the story end? How does, or does it?
Right.
Do the Carpenter sisters continue to eight? And
Mhm.
right, how long are they going to, or if they lose one of them at some point?
Mhm.
So, I think what I would, of course, what I would like to see. What will they do versus what I want is, who knows? But
Yeah.
I think I think it comes down to James and Guy deciding whether they're going to end this journey in seven with the Carpenter sisters, and it ends kind of like Scream 3 ended. Remember,
Mhm. Mhm.
where there was closure. Nev was at, I mean, Sydney was at peace,
Right.
and that was it.
Mhm.
That trilogy was all very nicely done, and it was the end of a chapter. I mean, it was the end of the book. So
Yeah.
I could see Night that if I could see them doing that, like following, because look how close they're following Craven and Williamson's first two films already.
Yeah.
And if
Yep.
they mirror three in a lot of ways, then they may bring the Carpenter story to a close
Yeah.
in seven, and then they kind of that's it. They kind of walk away and go on, and but I don't think it ends there though, because you asked me in beyond, right? So
Mhm.
I think that there's no way in my mind it comes down to dollars. And you're not going to have a franchise making it's going to be the highest make a gross film in the history of the franchise.
Yeah.
The sixth movie, which is crazy.
I know,
So,
right?
dude, it's like it's already over 140 now.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think that what'll happen is you can't keep Jenna coming back,
Yeah.
for the next. I mean, you could, I guess, but I don't think
Mhm.
that's realistic. So, I think the Carpenter sisters story ends in the next one, and not necessarily that they die. It's like a Scream 3. There's a happy ending, and
Mhm.
after Stu is killed, and you know Sydney and is back to help kill Stu. That's my dream. But even if they don't do
Yeah.
it, anyway, I've talked a long time, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think that the Carpenter sisters, if I had to bet on it, they're
Mhm.
going to treat it like a Scream 3, bring closure to it, and then just see what happens with 8. If they start fresh, or if they can
Mhm.
get them both back with enough money, they may continue,
Right.
like Scream 4.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that I kind of look at it like that too. I think that they're going to try to bring the story to a they're going to try to wrap up this story in 7.
Yeah,
Because I think that if you look at 5 and you look at 6, each movie kind of has an ending that could stick and you
yep,
don't need another movie. So
right.
to me, I think it makes sense that, Radio Silence is going to follow that same format, especially for this 7, and it'll be the end of it.
Hmm.
But, you know, let's see how much money it makes. Let's see how
Yeah,
everyone, their schedules are they too busy for this thing anymore, blah blah blah. And like you said, they might bring whoever can come back,
sure.
especially Melissa. I mean, Melissa's kind of the linchpin, right now, and
Yes,
I'm assuming in 7 she'll continue that ascension. And by the way, and I've said it before, I've said it when I've talked about 6 and we've talked about it on the collective. I just want to continue to give a shout out to Melissa Barrera because holy crap, man. Like it was for me anyways,
yeah,
it felt like night and day as
hmm,
far as what they allowed her to do in this story. You know, they
absolutely.
they let her I'm not trying to sound dramatic, but they let her spread her wings. She was a character that I was so on board with her in 6. It wasn't even funny, man. I was like, "Yes," and I was just really happy for her, but,
Yeah,
yeah, I agree with what you're saying, man. I really, really do.
hmm,
Um, Now in the chat, and this is an interesting thing too, our good buddy Eric, from Hey Internet, Eric is here. "What's up,
hey,
bro?"
hey, man.
Um, Saying, "But is art really an icon? Only 2 movies? I think he needs more films to be considered that." Well, he was also in All Hallows Eve. So I think he's been in 3 or 4. I can't remember. But I think I hear what you're saying too, Eric. I think, and I said this earlier. I don't know if you had just popped in, Eric, but Terrifier 3 is happening, and Damien is, they're crafting this thing together, and David Howard Thornton, and so Terrifier 3 is going to happen, and I'm going to assume that it does, well. Who knows if it'll do as well as Terrifier 2, but Terrifier 2 just wow, it just bonkers for the amount of money that they put into it. It made so much. I definitely think with 3, I think he pretty much is in that conversation. But I look at it as levels. And Steven, you can let me know what you think. When I think of the top of the hill, I think of the big 4, which is Michael, Freddy, Jason, and Ghostface. That's the top of the hill. That's the Mount Rushmore of horror to me.
Me too.
In my life, and
Yeah.
and there is no deviation from that for me. But then you have the other icons that are next in line, whether it's Leatherface or Chucky or Candyman, whoever. But I do think that art is rising up those stairs, so to speak. He's not at the level of the big 4, but he's coming up there. What do you think? Do you think that's happening, or
I still think Terrifier is more niche. I think that's a niche franchise. Like it has its followings.
Yeah.
And they're for sure.
Yeah.
And and it's done really well and all. So, but I still, there's some audiences are not going to watch a Terrifier movie.
Right.
The gore level is not going to. That's not going to be. I see. It'll never. I don't think it will ever reach audience sizes like with the Rushmore. The 4. There's no. It's too. If it was scaled down and more digestible for the mainstream audience, it would be a lot more. I think he would be more in the mix for me in this discussion. So that's not to say the guy's not. I mean, I haven't seen the Terrifiers. You know that I don't. But from what you've told me and others, he's obviously wicked. Wicked villain. But is he rising though? I mean, I'll definitely say he's rising more than he was after the last movie. That's for sure. I just don't ever see in that franchise. It's going to have a ceiling, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Because just the audience, that's a niche audience that likes that kind of gore and enjoys that.
Right.
That's not the main. So I just don't see. I think that's hindering it. I think that's hindering him from me anyway.
That's a good point. I never really thought of it like that. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the gore is a turnoff. It's not going to be. It's just not easily watched for a lot of people. I don't want to see that level.
Right.
But I'll give you another one though. Another one that I think is really close on this list is Jigsaw.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. I think Jigsaw is and me, I really love the Saw franchise, and I definitely think Jigsaw is I think he's in that, whatever you want to call it, second or third level. Yeah. And definitely with the amount of films. I mean, the 10th movie is coming out in October, so.
That's right. Yeah, and and it's I think I think probably you're looking at like Chucky, Jigsaw, like that's where I think you start the next section probably.
Good point, man. That could be a nice conversation in and of itself. Is who's on that second level, who's on that third level, and so forth, and why.
Fun. Yeah,
that would be fun, man. We might have to revisit that idea.
We should. Yeah, do the ranking board. You know how you do you do ranking
Yeah.
board, right, like a roster
Yep.
and stuff. That'd be
That'd be
fun.
cool. Yeah. Absolutely. Raka Raka say, have you heard about A24's Talk to Me? Uh,
No.
I think I've heard of that. I haven't seen it though. I haven't seen it though.
Oh,
Yeah. Might have to
I'll have
check
to.
that out.
I was gonna say, how about to Google it? I got to see what that is.
Right? Two boys saying, but we need a new Friday 13th film that delivers. That's right.
Yeah, that'd be
So
nice.
true. So freaking true. Yes. Um, and I know I'm way behind with you guys here. I'll try to catch up a little bit. Ed is in the chat. What's up, Ed? The older stuff, 70s and 80s, made such an impression on me as a kid. I enjoy newer horror, especially foreign stuff. Yeah, and that's not even taking into account, foreign horror, which, I think for some folks, is an acquired taste. But I do think that there's a lot of great, foreign horror out there. Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, night. Listen to this synopsis
Okay.
for Talk to Me. It's a group of friends discover an embalmed hand that allows them to conjure spirits. Hooked on the
Ooh.
thrill, one of them goes too far and opens the door to the spirit world.
What?
Dude, do you remember the Creep Show episode where the
Yes.
guy had the finger or
Yeah.
whatever? That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh my God. That is
Oh my
great.
gosh. Yeah,
Nice. Nice. I love it. I
it
love
came
it.
out in 2022.
Okay. We
Yeah,
might
it's
we might we might have to check that out. We're
yeah.
we've been trying to plan some watch parties coming up. We might have to have that in the mix.
Yeah, maybe it's 90. Of course, I don't really Rotten Tomatoes. I don't really like look to them for my
Yeah.
anything. But I always do a watch to see what it is. It's 96%.
There you go.
I
Okay.
don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to
Okay.
think about to our list. Yeah.
Yeah. Blucka saying, what about Pennywise? Yeah, Pennywise is definitely in the conversation of icon.
Yeah.
No doubt about that to me. I mean, and he's been around. He's also been around for almost 40 years. So I
That's right.
definitely would include him. He's not at the top though, at least not in my estimation, but he's in that second level. I would say second
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, me too.
Derek saying, to me, the Mount Rushmore of horror is Ghostface, Michael, Jason, and Chucky. Oh,
Oh.
Freddy, Pennywise, and Leatherface are tier
Oh.
2. Freddy is tier 2?
Wow.
Dude, what?
Oh.
But you know what though? It's all good because
Yep.
another thing that, and I can't remember who I heard talking about this, but it totally makes sense. Depending on when you grew up,
Yep.
and what movies you saw at certain points in your life,
That's right.
you connect to them differently. You know what
Do.
I'm saying? You
And
really, really do.
Gory B would love that list because she's
She
the
would.
biggest Chucky fan in the world.
Dude, Gory B and Brandon from I Like Scary,
Uh-huh.
they love them some Chucky.
They do.
And don't get me wrong, I like Chucky. I'm more attached to the earlier films than the later films. But for me, Chucky would be tier 2.
Me too. Yep.
Yeah, I got to put him in tier 2. And the way I look at it too, like, yeah, obviously nostalgia and connection to these movies or characters is part of it. But I also look at the character itself. What is the character? What is the franchise? How popular has it been, in pop culture itself? You know what I'm saying? Like how
Yes.
far is its reach?
Mhm.
And when I use those as part of my grading, there's no way that Freddie isn't in that top tier, because for a span of
Yeah.
about 4 years, like from 84 to like 88 or 89, I'll say 5 years,
Mhm.
no one was bigger than Freddy Krueger. No one, not
Yeah,
even
that's right.
Jason. And I love Jason, but nobody. I mean, Robert Englund was at Disneyland for 5 years. That's where he was. He was
For
having a
sure.
blast. He was having champagne and caviar because like just nothing could touch Freddie at that point. So, that's kind of how I graded too. But it's an interesting conversation to
It
have.
is. Yeah, for
It really
sure.
is. Yeah.
Seeing the different perspectives and opinions, and
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah, man. But I'm with
Exactly.
you. You and I are locked in on our Mount Rushmore. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Christopher saying, do you consider Victor Crowley on the same level as Art the Clown tonight and to Craven? Put it this way, and I'm a fan of Hatchet. And we actually even talked about it. I don't know how many months ago it was, maybe 6 months ago. I'm a fan of Hatchet. And some really cool stuff in it. It really, really is. And of course, Kane Hodder. I love Kane Hodder,
Yeah.
but Victor Crowley never broke through that ceiling, which is too bad because I think there's some really good stuff in it as a slasher and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I would say him and Art are similar on a similar level because I think
Mm-hmm.
kind of like what we've been saying, Art is rising, but like Steven said, I think there is a ceiling because of the gratuitous,
Mm-hmm.
violence and like it's really stylized and over the top. So maybe they are on a similar level. It's hard to say. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
at least for right now, unless someone was to revive the Hatchet movies, I feel like Victor had his shot and he's just kind of, he's just
Yeah.
hanging out there in limbo. Whereas Art, definitely is on the rise, and I think definitely will get even more popular with Terrifier 3. But logically, like Steven said, I think that I don't know if he could have that widespread appeal like a Ghostface or Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger, just based upon the type of movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good. That was a
Mhm.
good question, Christopher. Oh, and Val put in Steven's link in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank
Aw,
you, thank
thank
you.
you.
Very,
Thank you
very
so
cool.
much.
Yeah. Let's see. And Scott saying, hey to Craven, something scary.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
And Derek's on this thing, man. He's got tier 2 as Freddy, Jigsaw, Leatherface, and Pennywise. Okay. I can definitely agree with all of those except for Freddy. Freddy's got to go at
Yeah,
the top. But I agree with
same.
that uh Leatherface, Pennywise,
Yep.
Jigsaw. I would also put, I feel like I'm missing someone. I'd put Candyman in tier 2. I'd put Candyman in tier 2.
Okay.
And who else? Is there anyone? I'm trying to think. Maybe
Hmm.
Pinhead. Yeah, probably Pinhead. There's been 1,000 movies. Most of them haven't been any of my favorites, but uh,
Yeah.
there were some bad years, man. I'm telling you.
Oh.
Michael Joe, good point. Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, Hannibal
Hmm.
Lecter. I absolutely love Hannibal Lecter. Anthony Hopkins is my favorite actor, no doubt. Good one. Two Boys has a question for us, Steven, saying,
Okay.
what movie from the 80s would make a great reboot or reimagining today, in your opinion?
Hmm.
Ooh, wow.
Uh,
Hmm,
Yeah.
that's a good question.
It is really good. Wow.
Um, hmm.
Hmm. Great reboot. Reimagining. So many of those 80s movies, they're like so, I don't want to touch them. It's like,
Right.
and
There's a charm.
yes,
Hmm.
it's hard to see. There's not many I would want to see rebooted. I like them. I'm afraid it would just be an inferior version.
Good point. Good point.
It's hard to.
I agree with that because I think that
It's tough. Yeah.
It's really tough, man. I mean, you know, there's side movies like uh I don't know. There's probably a couple Stephen King movies that maybe, you know, you could just for the fun of it type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't even know if I'd want to touch that or maybe even some, you know, uh oh, what about like Deadly Friend?
Oh,
Although that did have a charm to it. I haven't
it
seen that.
does.
I haven't seen it in a while, but it did have a charm to it. You know
It
what I mean?
did. And that was one of our movie lists from last August
Yes.
that we still haven't seen.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
you know, there's one movie, and I don't know if I probably wouldn't be happy with the reboot, but
Uh,
I'm curious about it. Is one of my favorite cult classics, Happy Birthday to Me.
ooh, yeah.
That's
That
one
could
of
be
my
fun.
that could be fun knowing how the original is
Yes.
and seeing that modernized now. That I think that might be interesting to see that redone.
I agree. That could be fun.
Mhm.
House on Sorority Row,
Mhm.
um, that could be a fun one too, although uh,
Yeah.
they did do a remake of it. But see, you know, movies like that, especially like if it's a Happy Birthday to Me, um, now of course we got to change it, you know,
Yeah.
because of people if they've seen it, then you know the surprise
Right.
will be blown. But
Yes.
but I love those types of movies where you've got, you know, and it's obviously
Mhm.
very similar to Scream. You got a group of people,
Yep.
you know, and whether or not, you know, they're friends or whatever, and people are getting killed, man,
They're
you know,
dying.
and it's like,
Yes.
who's doing this?
That's right.
I love movies like that, especially when they're done right, you know.
Exactly, man.
But I agree. I think something like Happy Birthday to Me or would be interesting. House and Sorority Row, that would be,
Mhm.
you know, like a good a good version of
A
it, you
good
know.
version. Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Scott saying, "What about the horror monsters like the Wolfman, Creature from Black Lagoon?" Yeah, yeah, the Universal monsters. They are, um, they're legends. They're forever legends. And like I was saying earlier, you know, from the 30s all the way up to, well, I mean, they're still, you know, being revered and movies are being made based on these monsters. So they really
Yeah.
were the forefathers, you know what I'm saying? And then of course, to me, once you came into the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, that's when you had this new crop of horror icons, you know,
Mhm.
like the big four and so many others, you know. So
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Olivia, welcome to the chat. Welcome, welcome.
Hey.
Saying Mount Rushmore horror: Michael, Jason, Leatherface, and Freddy. Okay, so you got
Oh,
three. So we're putting Leatherface up there instead of Ghostface. Okay.
wow. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, you know, I will say this, and it's funny because when I was talking with Kill and Coriander, um, we kind of had a little bit of a discussion like this, and I can't remember. I don't know if it was Kill or we had talked about Leatherface, and Leatherface is iconic. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise has been around. I mean, it's an older franchise than Halloween.
It is.
So, you know, you got to kind of give it its respect. So I don't necessarily have an issue if someone says they're putting Leatherface in that top four. Um, but to me, again, my way of looking at it is popularity, the state of the franchise, you know, what the character is, you know, and
Mhm.
so forth and so forth. And to me, Ghostface edges Leatherface out in
Yep.
total. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because there were some bad TCM movies.
Oh
You
gosh.
know, there were a couple that were just really bad. So there's that.
And then I see Ghostface Fanatic mentioned Leprechaun. I see Leprechaun, dude. That to me that
Yeah,
starts the third tier. That would be for
yeah,
me.
yeah. I'm not. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not really the same.
right. Hey, look, Brandon's in the chat said,
All right.
Do I spot some shape talk? What's up, guys?
Hey, Brandon.
It's good to see you, man. It's like as soon as someone's talking about Michael Myers, Brandon's like, "Wait a minute, what? Where?" No, it's true though, man. And I'm not gonna lie. And Steven, we talked about this too, and I'm sure we're gonna feel the same way, especially after 7, assuming
Hmm.
Scream 7, assuming that we'll get at least a little bit of a break from the franchise.
Hmm.
Man, that roller coaster of Halloween was so much fun, man, when we were just
Oh
knee
yeah.
deep. We were knee deep in it, man.
Heck yeah.
It was so much fun talking about the radio tower and all.
The radio tower, Val, General, it's the radio tower.
She hated that. Oh my god. Oh,
That
some
was
fun stuff.
fun though, because
It
we had so much
was.
Halloween to talk about, like
We did.
so many theories and
Mhm.
possibilities, and it's kind of sad when the movie comes out because it's all over. Then that's it. It's like
Yeah.
that chapter closes, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, man. I mean, we had some absolutely fire discussions on the collective as well, and
oh gosh,
my God, man,
oh
some
gosh,
good stuff, some
I
really
never will
good stuff.
forget. And then we found out. Remember, Night? We found out there the one of these scripts, and I know Brandon knows this too. One of the scripts that David Gordon Green was going to film was the last scene of the movie in the Silver Shamrock
The
factory,
factory,
and there's a
yeah,
Michael Myers mask coming out on the factory line.
yes,
Oh,
man.
dang it!
That would have been something, man. And I saw this. Someone did an edit, and I can't remember who it was. So I can't, give them any credit. But someone did an edit to the ending of Ends. That's that scene
Uh-huh.
where Laurie um has the mask on the table, right?
Yes,
And you
yes.
know how it just kind of it fades out and stuff like that, which was cool. It was a cool way to end it. They did this edit where the camera zoomed in on the mask, and
Mhm.
then on the I guess it's on the inside, you could barely see a silver shamrock
Yes.
symbol
Yes.
or whatever. And I was just like, "Oh man, that would have
That's
been."
right.
And it was barely visible.
Yeah.
It was the type of thing where you had to know the lore in order to really
Mhm.
see it.
Mhm.
So the casual fan would be like, "Well, what are they doing? What is this?" But for us, we would have been like, "It happened.
It
It's
is
there.
there it
There's the
is.
bridge." And
Yes, yes.
and we talked about it. I don't know. I think that it would have been interesting if they did that, but I don't know. I was of two minds, I
Mhm.
was of two minds whether we wanted to, because again with Michael, and the beauty of Michael is you don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know. He's a little kid, killed his sister, and he just it's like there was that like Loomis said, that silent alarm that's just triggered and just boom.
Mhm.
He's activated. He
Boom. Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's such a cool mythology. I think, it might have been before you jumped on. I was saying, when will we get a character like that again? Where it's just a very compelling
Yeah.
mythology, you know,
Mhm.
something that is very, relatable. Like it's nothing super special, but it's got a cool factor to it, and a kind of a mystery to it. And he
Mhm.
obviously has endured for 50 years almost.
Man.
I'm just wondering when we're gonna get another thing like that. you know?
Ah, I know, man. It's tough because it needs to, for it to last, it has to be very successful financially.
Right, right.
And so otherwise you get a one movie and it's never you can never see him again.
That's right.
So it's hard to be as commercially successful as these Mount Rushmore people.
That's right.
That is hard, man.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's tough. it's almost hard to imagine. Not, and of course, anything's possible, of course,
Mhm.
but it's so hard to think about another one being able to be like a Michael Myers. That is
Mhm.
successfully in the box office, so they can keep making more movies. And
Mhm.
I mean, it can happen, of course. It
Yeah.
happens. It does happen. But
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. No, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
that's it's I don't. It has to happen and catch fire. Well, like for
Yeah.
example, Smile. Smile's an example of, now it's not like Michael Myers, but I mean, as
Mhm.
far as a first time film,
Right.
and it goes over $200 million, very first
Mhm.
film. Now,
Yeah.
see, that's a film that if they're smart, they'll find a way to get a sequel made on that.
Yeah.
They'll write something,
Mhm.
because I'm gonna give a spoiler. So, if is that all right with you, man? It's your
Oh,
channel.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
make sure. I mean, it's been out for a very long time, so
Yeah.
it's a Smile. But if you haven't seen Smile, just take your headphones off or mute for a second. But the way that movie ends,
Mhm.
there's not, because it's Kyle Gallner's character is he's got it now
That's right.
because he watched.
Mhm.
So there, that is open ending.
Mhm.
That didn't have any closure.
Right.
So
Yep.
they could, if they wanted to continue that kind of storyline, they could do something. But I mean, if we're 200 million, I would tell my people, I'm hiring writers
Mhm.
that can write a good story, because we got to make another movie and see, you
Yeah.
know. But
Well, they want to do it. They
yeah,
want to do it,
okay,
and they
good.
contacted, the director of the first movie. As far as I understand, it's all in the beginning,
Okay, I didn't know that.
stages.
Good.
Yeah, but they definitely want, well, and like you said, you said it yourself. I mean, it makes perfect sense because the
You
movie
have
just,
to.
yeah, you have to. You really you
Yeah.
really do.
Seriously, like if we had a studio night and we made a movie
Yeah,
and it broke 200 million on our first entry into the
right?
market,
That's right.
I'm saying go. Listen, we got to hit the throttle and go. We got to get another one
Yeah,
out, you
that's
know.
right. That's right. Strike while the
And
iron's hot.
you got to. So that just goes to show those things can happen. So, that kind
Yeah,
of big success can definitely happen, man.
yeah, it's
Um,
true.
so there's also a lot. Also, the culture we're in now, it seems like there's so much focus on TV series. They're
Yeah.
doing the 10 episode, 8 episode stuff, a
Mhm,
lot, a lot.
mhm.
And well, I mean, look at La Crystal Lake coming, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be streaming instead of a movie, but we're still hoping for the movie also.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but there's money to be made if you write good story, and Smile is a great example of a first time entry blowing up. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, or and also, well, let me just, say, Colby was saying, "Would you like to see a new Behind the Mask: Rise of Leslie Vernon?" That was a great horror movie too, and it just
hmm
never, again, it was like Hatchet. It kinda
yeah,
had some success, but it didn't break through, you
mm-mm.
know what I'm saying? But it was a
No,
fantastic movie. But what I was gonna say is, if you look at something like with Art the Clown, like Blucka said, before Terrifier 1 and 2, he was in a couple of shorts.
hmm
He was in, whatever the segments of All Hallows Eve. And so, but Damien just, he was just hitting the ground running, trying to promote through social media, through different sources. And next thing you know, they get enough money together to do the first Terrifier
yeah,
movie. And again, it wasn't a breakout success. It did okay, but it's laid the breadcrumbs, you know.
yeah,
And we were waiting. And he had been talking about Terrifier 2 for the longest time. I remember Fate used to always talk about, when are we going to get Terrifier 2? Is it ever going to happen? And eventually they got it together, and then it made all this money. So I guess what I'm saying, to your point too, whether it's Smile that makes a lot of money and now you
hmm
can create a new horror franchise, if you've got something that is good, and you just try to keep hitting the ground and pounding the pavement, things can happen. Things can happen,
yeah,
and so it's
absolutely.
definitely, yeah.
Definitely, man. And I'll be ready for it. It'll be so exciting. if we get
Right?
something like that,
Mhm.
a slasher icon, a new slasher icon would be great.
Yes, yes, I agree. Ghostface Fanatic, what's up? What's up?
Hey, man.
I think Leatherface is the one killer I didn't care for. The new movie, the look of Leatherface was too weird for me. Oh, okay, with the new
Mhm.
TCM. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blucka saying Pinhead is the one horror villain that will always be scary, but never has a decently creative writer director. Well, I think that, and this is the way I've always looked at Pinhead, and I've become a little infamous with some folks, especially some of our YouTube friends. Hellraiser was one of the most disappointing franchises for me because I thought the original and arguably the second movie were really good,
Mhm.
done really well, great costume and practical effects, and Doug Bradley, I mean, he's a legend, obviously, portraying Pinhead for so many years. But then after like 3 and especially 4 through 9 or 4 through 10, however they did so many of them, I lost count. They were just look,
Oh,
they were
man.
just bad. Now the new one that came out on Hulu last year, I thought it was pretty good. I was actually surprised that I enjoyed it because I had been absent from the franchise for a long time, a long
Mhm.
time. So yeah, Pinhead's definitely interesting to say the least. To
Yep.
say the least.
It's true.
Yeah. Two boys saying Craven and Night, which killer do you think you could most likely survive in a movie?
Oh my gosh.
Well, let me say this. Um, it would be hard to survive Freddy Krueger
Oh, yeah.
because you gotta sleep. Um, if I was well, first of all, well, okay, I'll play this game. If I was in Haddonfield and let's say Michael was killing people, as long as I can see him before he attacked me, I could survive him. Because as we know, Michael is the slowest fast walker of
Yep.
all time, and I'm pretty fast. So
Mhm.
I could get away from Michael.
That's
um,
funny.
I couldn't get away from Freddy. Uh, Same thing
Ugh.
with Leatherface. You know, if I see them
Yeah.
before they attack, I'll be okay. As long as they don't sneak up on me. What do you think, Steven?
Well, this may be cheap way out, but I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna say I could beat Chucky.
Yes, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
I can handle him.
Oh my
I
god.
just pick him up and just rip his limbs off of it.
I love that. That is great. Oh, that was good. You caught me off guard with that. Love it, love it. That's a good question, man. Uh,
Yeah.
Blucas says Maximum
Oh,
Overdrive. Final answer. I think he was talking about a remake from the 80s.
yeah, yeah.
That
I
could
mean
be
that
interesting.
it could be fun. Yeah,
Mhm.
all the machines and stuff, the newer stuff we have, and
Yes,
it could be. You could definitely have fun with that.
you could,
Mhm.
but you will lose. You
Oh
will lose the
man,
charm
you
of that
will.
movie. You'll lose the cocaine fueled energy from Stephen
Yes.
King. Oh my god,
Oh,
I can't wait till we watch that again, man.
me too.
I cannot
Seriously.
wait. Coriander does not want to watch that movie. And I keep telling her, it's like, you gotta take one for the team, girl.
That's right.
You
Got
gotta take
to.
one for the team. Oh, she's so
Yes.
funny. Oh
Oh,
man.
dude.
Let's see. And I know I'm behind, guys, so we'll see because we're
Just
gonna
want to
be
say
one.
hi to hey Renee. Want to say hi to Nanette real quick.
Ooh, hey Nanette, how's it going?
How you doing, Nanette? Good to
Good
see
to
you.
see you. Christopher saying Blood and Black Lace from 64 would be great for a remake. Yeah, that's an old school slasher. We actually talked about that on SMC a couple months ago. It's a great
Ah,
movie.
wow.
Great movie. Yeah. Blucka saying They Live could be decent. I don't know, man. I love They Live, and I don't it could be decent, but there is a charm to that movie that is just so it's such a great I love that movie so much. The late great Roddy Piper was just so good. It's just a regular guy in the situation. Keith David was great as a co-star. Oh my god. I just don't know if a remake could match that charm. You know. I just love that movie so much. And Carpenter directing it.
That's right.
You can't, you just can't lose.
Is that the one with Keith or Sutherland's dad?
No, no, no,
What was?
no.
Oh, that
Donald
was.
Sutherland. That was
Yeah.
what movie was he in?
What
He
was
was
that? It
was
was
he in was he in a Carpenter movie?
well, you know the one I'm talking about because the thing people have that
Oh, that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
that's the one. That's the
Yes.
one. Okay, all right. I was
Yes.
thinking about that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's a great movie. And that's a remake
it is.
of the old movie from the 50s. And um to me there's a Mount Rushmore of remakes, or at least from back in the day. There's John Carpenter's The Thing, David Cronenberg's The Fly,
Hmm.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
Mm.
and The Blob from 1988, which was a remake of The Blob from the 50s. I think
Yes.
those are some of the best examples of how a remake can be as good or better
Hmm.
than the original.
It's true. I mean, you're right, man.
Yeah.
Those are all really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And hey to cheers to fears. What's going on? Good to see you guys.
Hey. Yeah.
Um let me just catch up a little bit here. I know we're gonna be uh closing up soon here. Trick or treat, what's up?
Hey,
What's
man.
up? What's up? Saying my Mount Rushmore is Michael, Jason, Sam, and Leatherface. Sam from Trick or Treat, all right. I love it. I love it. I would expect nothing less. I would expect nothing less. Um and Brandon said, I had to. Val said, why? Just why did you have to bring up the damn radio power?
There you go.
I had to do it.
Oh, yes.
Had to do it. We had so much fun, man, and
Oh, it was
God,
great.
it was so much, and Brandon too, man. We had good conversations on his
That's right.
channel, and he's been on our channels, and
Yep.
a lot of the crew. Just it was a fun time talking about all the Michael Myers stuff. It was really 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 cool.
Yeah, man. It was
Um,
awesome.
I miss it. I really miss it. We did Halloween Fest, and oh
Yeah.
man, it was just
I know.
crazy. We were on a roll, man. We
Yep.
were on a roll. Cheers to Fear saying Mount Rushmore Female Villains Edition. Curious to hear that talked about. That is a good point,
Oh,
man.
wow.
Wow, man. Whew. Well,
Hmm.
I'll say this, and actually, I did have an image up. Let me put this image back up. Nowadays,
Oh, yeah.
you gotta think about Pearl, um, especially with, and I know there are multiple characters, or you know what I'm saying. We've got,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Maxine coming up and all that, but it's me a goth. Let's just I'll simplify it like that, but um,
Oh, yeah.
what an amazing two movies we've got going on so far with X and Pearl, and I would assume Maxine is going to be as good, if not better, maybe.
I'd assume
Um,
too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but you got to think about her. You got to if Megan 2.0 is as good as the
Mm.
first one, you definitely got to think about Megan.
Yep.
Um, you
Let's
know,
see. You got Carrie.
You got Carrie. Yeah, yeah. Because Lord knows they made enough remakes of Carrie and they did a sequel. Um, someone said
uh,
Annabelle in the chat.
uh-huh.
I guess you could look at it that way too. Annabelle. Um,
What about go ahead.
I was gonna say Samara from The Ring. You know.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, and this is I don't know that this doesn't really go down in horror. It's more of a thriller, drama thriller. But I
Hmm.
was gonna say Sharon Stone from Basic Instinct. Uh, she,
I love how you said it. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, she
yeah,
was a villain. She was a slasher. She was.
that's right.
I mean, it's. I'm gonna throw her in there. I would throw her in there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Yeah, so that's an interesting conversation to have. Definitely.
Yeah,
Good point. Good point.
yeah,
And Val, thank you for putting the link up for the Patreon. We appreciate that. Thank you, thank
yeah.
you. And there is Nanette. All right. And I think I'm almost caught up there. Run. Jamie's in the chat. Hey, Jamie, what's going on? Good to see you.
Hey, Jamie.
Um, let's see. And I think I'm pretty much caught up. So as we kind of wind down here, Stephen, I mean, obviously, you know me. I
Oh, I
I,
know.
I could gab all night, but
Me too, man.
this is
Yeah.
actually fun. We might have to do a part two to this.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, there's Carrie too. Hey, Carrie,
Gary.
good to see
Hey.
you. All right. But when we think about, um, yeah, when we think about horror and the state of horror and where we're at, if you were to take a guess, and
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a weird question, but I'm just throwing it out there. If you were to take a guess, let's just, and I know some people have said, well, art isn't an icon yet. I think we kind of agree that he's ascending, you know,
Okay.
and my feeling is if the third movie is as good as the second movie, and if it's as popular and makes the money, I think you definitely could call him, an icon, maybe on that at least the third level, if not maybe the second level. Um, but
Okay.
do you think, and if so, when we will get at least another horror icon? Do you think that that's going to happen anytime soon? And if so, how long do you think it might be?
Mm, well, I don't personally not, and I'm not saying I know all of the stuff in the works, but
Hmm.
but what I do know is in the works. None of that would qualify. It's all been done before franchises. We bringing back stuff.
Right.
So I, I think that probably the studios are in search of that very thing
Mm,
themselves,
right.
and it's just going to be a matter of when the right script comes along
Hmm.
and it's there. And
Yeah.
so, but I think history shows it's difficult to reach that status
Yeah.
as we're here 40 years later talking about the same people,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Michael, Freddie, Jason. So to reach those levels or to fall or ascend to that level, no one else is. I mean, no, there's others that we arguable, obviously, Chucky, and there's different things. But even with the second tier, we're at what, 10, 8 to 10 at the most
Yeah.
in the last 40 plus years. So I'm I'm almost like I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Hmm.
Let me put it this way: I'm not expecting it to happen soon,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I could be surprised. In
Yeah.
1996, this movie called Scream came out,
Hmm.
and look at it now. Now he's on Mount Rushmore, Ghostface. I mean,
Right.
so you know, and that was a special movie. And I'm not saying we're going to get another Scream,
Hmm.
but you never know when a movie is going to hit like that, and it's going to start a fandom. It's going to that's going to build up.
Right.
And
Right.
art, there you go. As you said, talked about art. He's probably the closest right now, I think. But
Hmm.
from something starting fresh, I'm hopeful. My fingers are crossed, but I don't expect it to happen soon because we're still recycling
Yeah.
and recalls and all that's still going on.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, and it seems like the only place we're getting really original and Smiles is an exception to that. So maybe not the majority of the night to me seems to be independent filmmakers.
Yes, I
It's
agree.
the right originality, like fresh. And the problem with independent filmmakers is they don't have the stage that these other films do to get the audiences as easy.
Mhm, mhm.
And we need a major motion picture studio
Right.
to get one out that's going to go into the mass theaters.
Mhm.
That's a
Agreed.
cool. I like that image right there. Um, so I'll just end my thought on it by saying I don't anticipate it being soon, only because I think it's extremely difficult to pull off.
Yeah.
That's all. But I'm hopeful, and I mean, I want it to be soon, and
Mhm.
I'm hoping I'll be surprised.
Yeah. Same here, man.
Wouldn't it be cool
Yeah.
to have a new slasher icon that we can get into and enjoy?
Yeah.
You know?
It would, man, and you would think because so many filmmakers are such fans, of these legacy
Hmm.
franchises. Like if you look at Lee Cronin, who's doing the Evil Dead Rise movie, he
Mm.
grew up on the Evil Dead movies. He's a
Hmm.
huge fan of those movies, a huge fan of Ash as a character, Bruce Campbell, and of course Sam Raimi, who directed the movies. So
Yeah.
there's filmmakers out there that idolize these legacy franchises. So I hope that someone can put their spin on something, and we can have something
Yeah.
new. Hopefully, within I'm kind of with you a little bit. I don't know when, but I'd be hopeful within the next several years
Yeah.
that we get something. It's
Yep.
very possible. Um, it just has to be the right combination, of
Hmm.
creative ideas and the people in front of and behind the camera and stuff like that. But I'm
It's
hopeful.
true.
I'm very, very
Yeah.
hopeful. Very.
Yeah, man. It's just got to be good story, good solid script story.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's got to have all the elements there to hit.
Yeah.
But if they are, dude, hey, it could catch fire, and here we go, have another independent film that or
That's
another.
right.
It's $100+ million and
Hmm.
150 whatever, and all of a sudden, bang, we get a sequel and it starts.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. I agree. And also, Val, you have to let us know what you thought of Popcorn. That was actually a movie that we were going to do as one of our crazy watch party
Ah.
watches, but we never did. It was on my
Mm.
list,
Ah.
and I can't remember it. I think I saw it when I was a kid, but I can't remember it, and that's why I thought it would have been a good one for us. So Val, you'll have to let us know what you thought of it since you just saw it. Um, and also, hey to Denisha. Denisha's in the chat too. I
Hey,
saw her
Denisha.
jump in there. And Val, thank you for reminding people to smash the like button. That definitely would be cool. Um,
Yes.
Olivia, I agree. Saying not a horror, but a thriller. The Cape Fear remake was awesome. It really was. Robert De
Hmm.
Niro was menacing
Oh, he
in that
was.
movie. He really was.
Yes.
My goodness. Um, Carrie just watched Dario Argento's opera last night. That was a beautiful Italian horror. Carrie, you're all right. She's catching up on all this foreign horror. It's just making me smile. I love it. I love it because
Oh,
it.
Knight. I have
Yeah.
a question for you, sir.
Sure.
Christopher Dunn says at 9:42, he says Fade to Black, 1980.
That
I've
was one on my list too.
I've not seen that.
I don't
Says
remember it.
the killer uses costumes from different movies like Dracula and the Mummy.
Hmm.
So it's got a mask. We got. I'm guessing that I don't know if they are there. Is there a face in it? Do they have a mask on, Christopher? So is it like a who done it? I always ask Knight that when we're talking about these slashers. I'm like, is it a who done it? Like
Is it a whodunit?
the mask and unveiling, and
Right.
uh, I'm curious about that. I'll have to look that up.
And
That's
hey to Daisy, what's up? Oh man. Hey, thanks, two boys. We appreciate that. That'd be
yes.
cool.
Congratulations, bro. The 30 is right there, man. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
you'll be there before you know it.
if I can hold on with my energy levels,
I
right?
know. I
I'm telling
know.
you, it's
Yes.
a it's something else, man. But no, I appreciate that. I
I hear
appreciate
you, man.
it.
I'm like I'm at 9,041, and I want to hit that 10K, man. I'm like,
Yes,
oh, I want to get that 10K so bad.
you will, man. You definitely will. There's no question about it, man.
Oh, thank
No
you, brother.
no question at all. And well deserved and
Aw,
deserving of a lot more than that too.
aw, thank you.
Yeah. Um let's see. And I wanted to catch up real quick. We needed an attack of the killer broccoli.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Oh
That was
gosh.
good. Love it. Love it. Um let's see. And I think Val was saying she really enjoyed popcorn. All right.
Mm.
Um I just want to make sure I catch up here. Um oh, Entertainment Hell's not a fan of the Evil Dead Rise trailer. Looks awful. Terrible trailer.
Huh.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
Freaked me out.
it freaked me out too. Yeah. Yep. Let's see. And I think we're about caught up with everyone. All right. Well, look. Oh, okay. So Val was saying I really liked At Night being in the 1991. Still had the 80s campy horror vibe. It would be a great movie for a watch party. That's what I thought too. That's why it was on the list. We might still have to do it.
Oh.
Yes, yes. We might have to do it. Um,
Ah.
and hey, Jason, what's going on? Good to see you.
Hey, man. Knight, have you seen Anguish 1987? It's
Ooh,
a film within a film
I
thriller
don't
about two teen girls among a small group of people who are terrorized in a movie theater by a killer while watching a horror movie.
No, I don't think I've seen that one. I don't think
Mm.
so. Sounds good
Wow.
though.
It does sound good. Wow.
I'd be up for that. Anthony, what's up?
Hey, man.
Yoo-hoo. Yoo-hoo. All right. Um Val's like, there's Anthony. Yeah, nice. Man, that's so sweet. Night and Graven, you both have such beautiful spirits.
Oh,
That's sweet of you.
thank you, man.
We appreciate that. You are all right. Entertainment Hell saying, I saw Anguish. It was excellent. Okay, well, we'll have to
Okay.
remind me when we go off here to write that on the list.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
I'll put that on the list. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna get ready to get out of here. First of all, Stephen, obviously, as always, it's been so much fun having you on
Oh,
here.
heck yeah, man. Thank you.
Mm,
This was
yeah,
absolutely a blast.
it always is, man.
Always.
This was like really really chill, and like I was telling folks when I popped on, this was kind of impromptu. I was hoping to have streamed tonight, but I didn't know if I was going to. And then we talked earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
you said you'd like to pop on, so it kind of all worked out. This was fun, and just kind of just talking about horror in general. I think it was a really fun
Yeah.
conversation.
No, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I had a great time. And there was a comment, and it's probably too long ago now, but two
Hmm.
boys and their scary pops, I believe. Oh, I found it. I found it. It's
Okay,
at 9:31 p.m.
okay.
It's from two boys, and I just love this because well. First of all, thank you. It was not he was congratulating me on 9K, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. It's the
Hmm.
second half where he says, Craven horror at night is such a great combo."
I
And I
like
was
that.
like, "Dude, me too." I said, "Craven horror at night. That is not too bad. I like that name.
That is pretty good.
That's good."
I
Like,
like that.
hmm.
There it is.
There it
That.
is.
That is
Craven
cool.
horror at night. That could be a channel name.
I like that. That's all right, man. That's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
It
absolutely. That was
yeah,
awesome.
it's just fun kicking back and just,
Mhm.
I mean, we're such fans of these movies, and it's an interesting time, um,
Yeah.
in horror because I think there's been a lot of
Yes.
things that have kind of, done some different stuff like X and Pearl and Nope and
Yeah.
these up and coming directors and stuff, and they're kind of doing their thing. Well, we still do have legacy franchises like Scream and Halloween and Chucky and Friday 13th still
Mhm.
in the mix. So it's just going to be interesting to see where we go, in the next, you know, 3, 4, 5 years. Will the legacy franchises in
Yeah.
general have a little bit of a vacation for a while, and these newer movies and possibly newer characters, will they
Right.
take up the driver's seat,
Uh-huh. Fill the spot. Well, and I think, I mean, not to keep the thing going over winding down, but on as far as Scream goes,
Mhm.
do you see them letting off the gas pedal
You mean
or
after
not?
7?
Yeah, if let's say seven's done, they make 150, 160 million. It makes this still a huge number.
Mhm.
Um, do you think Spyglass will take a 2 or 3 year break, or do you think they're going to say, you know what, we're going to ride this thing out till it's dead?
Well, I could see it going either way, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I would say I'd probably lean more to them kinda keeping their foot on the pedal,
Yeah.
because money talks, you
Exactly,
know?
man. Big
And
time.
if this movie does even better, it would not surprise me if, we have just a year or 2
Hmm.
in between, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Right.
at least have an announcement to say, "Hey, we're we're gonna keep on doing this thing. Melissa, get ready," or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. Whether or not that's good for the franchise overall, I think that remains to be seen. Um,
Hmm.
if 6 is any indication, then I could see it happening, because we are pushing the envelope more. We are kind of going into unforeseen territory for the franchise a little bit. So if they can do that, then sure, I could see a couple more movies, still having some creative lawn to use.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Well, and how do you feel about the writers? See, not that they've done a bad job, but
Mhm.
I would personally, after seven's over, I would like to see brand new writers. But
I would
yeah.
too.
Hmm.
I would too, because I think that yeah, I would like to see brand new writers too. I mean, like I said,
Hmm.
six had some good. I think they did some better things with the characters in 6, and I guess we'll
Yep.
have to see what happens in 7. But
Right.
having newer writers, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
It wouldn't scare me off. I'd be actually like, okay, let's get some fresh blood in there. you
Yeah. Let's get
know.
some fresh blood. We had 3 movies with James and Guy, and the thing about six too, and it's better. I think it's better than five for me.
Hmm.
Uh, and I enjoy six. There's some. I did a whole video on like their three firsts that
Hmm.
we see. There's a lot of good stuff. But let's see if you agree with me. I also, though, on the other side of that coin,
Hmm.
I believe it's the one movie that in the franchise that requires us to suspend disbelief more than any of the other films.
Oh yeah, no
I
doubt,
mean, you have
no
to
doubt.
just pretend. You just have to let it go. Like Bailey. Is it okay to talk spoilers?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, so with Quinn, the fake out death with Quinn, and
Hmm.
Bailey's like cutting, making sure no one touches the body. There's no way with the CSI, all of the group coming in, the investigators, they're gonna look at the body. They're gonna do all their stuff. I
Hmm.
mean, that you have to just let that go. You just have to be like, you
Yeah,
know what? Yeah. I'm not going to point them all out. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm
right.
just pointing out that the the movie has a lot of good things,
Mhm,
but the one thing that it also has is a lot of unbelievable scenarios.
Yeah.
Chad stabbing and surviving,
Yeah, that's the
which
number
is
one offender right there.
that is so bad. And you just have to like in your brain, you have to just say, you know what? I'm just gonna put all of that up on the shelf and just go with the flow.
Right,
And you
right,
know, but no other Scream movie has made us as fans have to do that so much.
right.
Like there
Yeah.
may be one scenario here or there where
Mhm,
we just kind of like, you know what? Hey, it is what it is. You know, it's what they want to do.
mhm.
But there's so many in this movie that I just don't add up. And again, I just forget about it and enjoy what for what it is.
Yeah.
But that's another reason why I talk about new writers.
Mhm,
I want stronger writers who they're not going to have that many scenarios where you just have to be like, really? That's
mhm.
not good. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Um, that's all. That's my biggest criticism of again. And there's a lot of things I love. Like I say, it's a good movie,
Mhm.
but you just have to be willing to just turn it off and just let it and just go with the believe what they tell you and
That's
just go
right.
with it and
Yeah.
that's it. And you'll
Yeah,
enjoy
man.
it then.
Yeah, that's the way that you can enjoy it. I mean, like I said, Chad was that was the ultimate of offense, and
Oh,
Chad literally became Michael in
yeah.
Scream 6. I'm gonna call him Chad Myers from
Chad
here on out.
Myers.
He literally became Chad Myers, and because I was
Yeah,
like, dude is dead.
he is
I mean,
gone.
if they just had the double Ghostface kill, which that was amazing, and
Oh,
let's just
yeah.
say both of them, I don't know, stabbed him somewhere that wasn't, you know, you know, a critical area. Like if they just stabbed him once, each of them, stabbed him once, and then he came back at the end. Okay, I could
Right.
let that go a little bit,
Yes.
but they stabbed him like 20 times.
Yeah,
He was a human pincushion.
he was.
What is going on? I know
Yes.
I know they were trying to honor Dewey and all that type of stuff, but no. Look at
I mean,
look at Carrie. She said, "Leave my Chad alone." She's like, "Leave
hey,
my Chad Myers alone."
look, Carrie, here's the thing, and I had a live stream earlier, and this actually came up,
Yeah.
and I said, I personally wanted Chad to live. I said Mindy was gonna die before the
Right.
movie,
Me
but
too.
here's the thing, Knight, the writers chose to put Chad in that attack.
That's right. Yep.
They were the ones that chose Chad, not us.
Right.
And so, that's the way they were. But can you imagine though, if he had died as he should have,
Right. Yeah.
it would have been one of the most iconic kills of the entire franchise. We would
Oh,
be,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it would be top three possibly
Yeah,
even.
easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
You
Yeah.
got Drew Barrymore, of course,
Right.
is always number one.
That's
You
right.
know,
That I agree. That's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like Drew's number 1. That's gotta be number
always.
1.
You got to
Yes,
lock that in permanent ink.
pretty much.
And then maybe you have Tatum, maybe the garage scene, like whatever. But we all
Yeah.
have favorite kills. Or
Right.
Olivia from 4.
Olivia from 4.
That's
Yep.
probably next. Chad's kill would have been up there. We
Yeah.
It would have been years later. We'd be talking about that Chad kill in Scream 6.
That's right.
It took all that weightiness of it and just dropped it. So
Mm.
now it's like, oh, it was a really awesome attack,
Yeah,
but
right.
it's not the same. It's not the same.
I know, man. It's like, what is going on here? It's crazy, man.
It's crazy. And I'll say one
Uh,
last thing on it. If anyone who hears my voice right now does not believe that Stu Macher is alive, then you better say also that Chad is just a ghost walking around.
He's a living ghost.
He's a living ghost because Chad has taken 20 times the damage of Stu Macher.
Right?
Think about this: 17 stabs in 6, 7
Right?
stabs in 5.
Yes. Yes.
And Stu Macher, how many? 4.
Yeah.
4. Just count them. That's it. Just 4
Right.
stabs to no
Right.
vital areas.
Yep.
No vital areas. And the TV, that TV's so overrated. He had his hands up to brace the impact night. You saw it.
That's right. That's right.
And come on, man. I'm telling you right now, go watch The People versus Stu Macher. You'll see on my channel.
That's right.
Night's a part of it.
Yes.
So that's my rant on that. So if you come and say, "Oh yeah, Chad's alive," okay, great. So then you better be a Stu truther,
That's
because
right, man.
I
That's
don't
so
want to hear it.
true.
I'm
It is so
serious.
true. I love it. I love it. Oh my God.
Oh,
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna get ready to head on out, and Carrie is basically like Chad Myers for life. I know, I know. We love you guys though, but definitely let us know what you guys think of all of this in the comment section down below. We've talked about so many things, some great stuff. This was fun. I think we're gonna have to try to do a part 2 to this. Seriously, we covered so many movies and
yeah,
icons,
man.
and this was a blast, bro. Don't forget, and I'm sure most of you guys are already, but make sure you subscribe to Craven Something Scary, Steven's channel,
Oh, thank you,
and
buddy.
do that immediately. Also, hit the like button, and it'll help support us, and we'd appreciate
Yes.
it. And we will catch you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out.
Bye, guys.